I was in shock. Literally, even though I knew that this was going to happen, even though I had predicted it for years, that I was still, and still am, shocked by it. Terribly hurt by it, as I know that all of you listening are. Above most people, way beyond the imagination of most people, I understand what the consequences of this are going to be, and I don't think most people in this country or even around the world understand that, or have even an inkling of what it is, beyond the fact that they know nothing is ever going to be the same. Things are going to change drastically. They know that, but they don't know how much. They don't really understand or know the effect, when that's been the whole purpose of why I have been trying to convince everybody to understand that these things were coming, because I know the goals of the traitors in Washington, D.C. that want to bring about world government. I know the goals, and not just here, but around the world. It's a cabal of people who are interlocked through secret societies and organizations all over the world, who are bringing about this one world government, this new world order. And I know what their plans are. You see, none of this is secret. It's not secret. They don't make any secret of it. It's all out in the open. It's all been published. It's all written down. Anybody can get their hands on it, and you can read it. I've read it to you over the air. I've given you the sources. I've told you what's coming. They've told us what's coming out of their own mouths. And I saw the official plan that's top secret. It's held by the United States government to allow it to come about. Notice the tone of all this, ladies and gentlemen, is so obvious that everything is going to change in this country after today, that even the reporters, without any input from anybody, are making those observations themselves. You're hearing it from officials like Admiral Stansfield Turner, and congressmen and senators and many other people have already made this statement, that freedom is out the window. Freedom is no more. And they're saying it in different ways, but it all means exactly the same thing. And what they're doing with all of this, you're going to see repetition. You're going to see nothing but repetition of what has happened this morning over and over and over again. And you're going to hear this. Everything's going to change in this country from now on. Even though people in this country had nothing to do with it, we're going to be the ones who are going to be punished for it. We're going to lose our freedoms. We're going to lose our Bill of Rights because of this. And there's going to be now no opposition to disarming anybody. And anybody who stands up and resists it and opposes it and speaks on behalf of freedom will be ostracized by the American people who are so hurt by all of this and are so emotional. They will not oppose any measures that the government wants to put into place to take away our freedoms if they believe it's going to prevent this from happening again. But you saw, they said what they did after the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building would prevent, these kinds of things from happening again. Well, it didn't, and whatever they do now is not going to prevent it from happening again either. It's an attack upon the Constitution. It's an attack upon freedom. It's an attack upon freedom for all people all over the world. And you watch, you'll see that I'm absolutely correct in this. That's exactly what's going to happen. And anybody who stands up for freedom and opposes the measures that they're going to take because of what happened this morning is going to be demonized, ostracized, attacked, vilified, maybe arrested and put away forever. Did you notice, folks, that the plane that hit the Pentagon on the side where there were the most lower-ranking military personnel and civilians working? Not one person of flag rank or general rank or the major military officers who work in the Pentagon have offices on the side that was hit. And of course, like I said, folks, if I had access to that information when I was a member of the Office of Naval Intelligence on the staff of the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet, then everybody in that building who is anybody also had access to that material. Those planes did not bring those buildings down. Period. If you believe that in your wildest dreams, you got nothing, absolutely nothing between your ears. And I'm not asking you to take my word for it. Seek out some explosives experts and ask them. They'll tell you. They'll tell you. Go and talk to some architects who build skyscrapers, these huge towers that stick way up into the sky. Part of the design is the knowledge that airplanes sometimes crash into them, and they must be designed to withstand a crash into the building by the biggest planes in the sky. They're all built to withstand that. Oh, yeah, people will be killed. Yeah, the plane will go into the building. Yeah, there will be fire. Yeah, there will be flames. There will be destruction. There will be people die and killed and wounded and all that stuff, but they will not bring the building down. You got that? If you don't believe me. I'm not asking anybody to ever believe anything that I ever tell you. You go check with the people that know, and you'll find out that old Bill Cooper is telling you the truth.
As you look at what the magnitude of what's happened today, how are we going to look back on September the 11th?
It's similar to Pearl Harbor, but in some regards it's more problematic. One, it's worse than Pearl Harbor in that this is actually our homeland. At that time, Pearl Harbor in Hawaii was a territory, and that was a strike. And as awful as it was, those were on military facilities, not civilians. And what makes this much more difficult is we knew that was Imperial Japan. That got us into war against the Axis nations in World War II. This situation, sure, there may be sponsorship and harboring of these terrorist organizations in various countries, but it's not as clear an enemy as we had in World War II. So it's going to be there'll be a greater amount of effort to have the intelligence to who was involved, who financed it, who coordinated and masterminded these terrorist suicide bombings. And plus, we don't have the
Former Republican Senator George Allen of Virginia, now a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, joining us from his home near Fort Belvoir, which is in Fairfax County, Virginia. Thank you, Senator, for being with us.
Did you hear the hypocrisy in his little talk? Pearl Harbor wasn't a state, therefore we weren't hit at home. It was just a territory, and the Japanese struck military targets, not civilian targets. He didn't say anything about our firebombing of Dresden, in which we killed approximately 150,000 old men, women, and children who were not participants in the war on the side of Germany, or our bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which were the two largest Christian communities in Japan, and most of the people killed in those cities were old men, women, and children who were not soldiers fighting in the war. And in Hiroshima, there was an American prisoner of war camp, and a lot of those American prisoners of war were also killed by that atomic bomb. I'm just tired of the hypocrisy. I'm not saying that these bombers were correct in what they did by flying their planes into these targets or by blowing up the two World Trade Center towers. I'm just telling you that the hypocrisy just makes me sick. It seems that if we want to do something terrible, we can do it, and it's justified because we're the United States of America. But if anybody else does it, all of a sudden, it's a terrible thing because they killed civilians. I am sick of that kind of hypocrisy. Actually, our hypocrisy is what justifies these other people in their actions that they do, because they can see our hypocrisy. They can see our lies. They know what we've done. We killed probably thousands of civilians when we bombed Bosnia and when we attacked and bombed Iraq during the Gulf War. But if we do it, it's okay. And if somebody else does it, it's not. I'm telling you right now, it's never okay, no matter who does it. I am sick and tired of the lies and the hypocrisy and all of the other crap that just flies out of all of these people's mouths. And I wish it would stop. You see, you can't expect somebody else to obey the rules if we don't obey the rules. And I'm telling you right now, we've never obeyed the rules in our history. Ask a Native American sometime. How many tribes did we wipe out down to the last man, woman, and child that don't even exist on the face of this earth anymore? And it wasn't because they were scalping white people who were going across the country in their covered wagons. It was because we wanted their land. And we wanted them off the land.